listening to Tyger Smith Shooting with Friends podcast. All views and opinions of our guests are theirs alone. They don't necessarily reflect how we feel here at the UWC Network or the UWC Network podcast. If they say something that offends you, I apologize in advance. If you would like to sit down and speak about why what they said offended you, we are all ears and we are eager to have that conversation. If I say something that offends you, I apologize. This is your moment to not press play. Doing so, you understand you are opening yourself up to a situation where you may be offended or you may be overall upset about something that may or may not come out of my mouth. That being said, this is your last chance, Dandelion. You can stop. Okay, here's the show.
Coming to the stage, Tyger Smith.
I'll shoot him.
Underworld Cartel.
Who shooting?
Tyger Smith, shooting with friends.
Here we go. All right. I know I've said this a million times. Been gone forever. Trying to come back. Am I trying to come back, or is this the comeback? This is Shooting with Friends. It's going to be a semi-annual podcast where I will have different guests coming on, which should be good. Should be great. I've already reached out to a bunch of different local talents around, plus there's some other people I'm looking to, when I say local talents, I mean, from the indie wrestling world and whatnot, but I also have some connections to the fight world as well, so I'm going to have different guests on, talking about stuff, trying to learn, who people are and everything else in between. If this is your first time listening to me or this podcast, we've got over 300 episodes that are still in the bank that you can listen to, on the various networks, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you listen to a podcast, really. But let me give you a brief rundown of who I am. I started wrestling independent out of Rochester, New York, back in 2000. I initially took my first bumps in 1998. Under the guiding hand of Bad Boy Barry Hardy. After that, the school that I was attending closed, and I had to move on. I pretty much had given up on wrestling, and then I was reached by a gentleman by the name of Adam Bloodstone, who was a famed local referee in the area, Western New York area. He was also an indie worker at times. They also called him the Dusty Taker. A very interesting individual, very eccentric. He actually reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to go to an indie show. Other than the ECW indie show that I initially went to that got my juices going, I said sure. And at that show, I would meet Superfly Jimmy Snuka, H.C. Loke, who became very important in my story and my history, and so on. And right there, I knew I wanted to wrestle. I really wanted to wrestle. I got a taste for it initially, but then it's like, oh my God, I want to wrestle. So one of the guys that I had trained with at the Barry Hardy School was a gentleman by the name of Hellcat, Mike Rosario. I would bump into him and another person that was a trainee at that school, the Canadian Thriller, but at the time he was called the Green Genie. The guy has more gimmicks than anything. I would bump into the two of them in the mall in Rochester, and Thriller was pretty cool. He was like, oh yeah, we got a show coming up, you should go, where I didn't get such a warm reception from the other side, whatever. I would end up going to this show. I would take my cousin with me, and we'd end up signing up, for the school that was attached to the show was New Millennium Wrestling. So we signed up, and my wrestling journey truly began. Ironically, the head trainer at the time was Barry Hardy, who, after disappearing the first time, I was not too keen on, but he didn't last very long, and we had a litany of different revolving door trainers, people just trying to help out and whatnot. This is how I would meet like an Eric Everlast or, God, who else? Rick Matrix, and just different people that would come through. Eventually, H.C. Loke, the gentleman I talked about before, I've talked to him a great deal on this podcast. He would come in and he would train me, and he would show me the ropes and get my mind, ready for this thing. If not for him, I would not have been here. After doing that, the training there, and eventually Loke, would move on. I was ready to move on. I was ready to do something. I ended up working with a company that was just an upstart, technically, God, you could call it a backyard fed at that time because it did not have a license, and that was the majority of the people that were working there, in Rock City Wrestling. And there was a lot of talent there that was just raw talent, waiting to do something. So I'd end up going there, and I would be their head trainer, which was cool to me, feed the ego, feed the soul, whatever. It was good to feel respected by younger talent, and felt like it was awesome to feel like you mattered. You know what I mean? So, and I would meet, people like Huber Boy 2, who would eventually become, Brody Lee and Luke Harper, Colin Delaney, Evan McLeod, Kid Justice, Charisma, who would later become Frank the Tank Burlington, Spaz, Gabe Saint. At the time, it was Draven. There was a lot of people. Fusion. There was a lot of good talent. Honestly, RCW, if it understood how to market properly and compensate the workers correctly and book in a way that would have been, I don't know what's the right word, cohesive or whatever, to the wrestling market and just everything, that company could have been something huge. And but unfortunately, it was different people, too many cooks in the kitchen. It just didn't work out. I would end up leaving there for one of the people that I helped train. His name was Johnny Swift. He wanted to start up his own company off of there because originally he actually owned RCW and lost his own company to the people that he was working with, which I don't even understand how that happens. But then again, look at Vince McMahon. But anyway, I would leave with him, and we would start up this next era wrestling, and I would slowly start recruiting new names and new faces, just for different people. And that's where Robert Ezekiel started in RCW, but he really flourished in next era wrestling. Same thing with Super Beast. Were a couple of the kids I grabbed. I mean, I can't even think of all of them. And then when we started NEW, we would end up traveling to Buffalo to old school pro wrestling, where we'd meet Deacon and, and Bishop and all those guys out there, Trip, We had a Brian Emanon with us that came from RCW that went to NEW to flourish more, and then he hit the road, and Eric Emanon would start in next year wrestling. Just so many names. I mean, I apologize if I don't remember all of them right off the top of my head. I mean, I've had a lot of headshots, but I will tell you, next year wrestling for the most part was fun, until it wasn't, for various reasons and various different individuals and entities that entered into that place. I've had a pretty healthy career for never being signed and never quote unquote going anywhere. I've been up and down the East Coast, which to me, I even made to, Central. I mean, I made it all the way out to Illinois and stuff. Indiana. Which some people would be like, yeah, whatever, who cares? Well, that's cool. It means something to me. It totally meant something to me. Going all the way down, to Pennsylvania, wrestling in the ECW arena. I got to say I did that. I went to God, I was in Canada, which again, people are like, whatever, it's just Canada. Well, it's another country that take wrestling extremely seriously. And it was a huge honor. Got to work with Mike Hart, Mike the Match Hart. He's the son, or one of the sons of, I think he's the only son, actually, I don't know, of Smith Hart, the older brother of Bret Hart. So, Titus, my brother, my tag partner, we had traveled up and down the roads, together as the UWC, the Underworld Cartel. And, we ended up in a feud up in Canada with them. So Smith got involved. So it was like we got to have a feud with the Hart family. You could say by extension. Not the one you're used to seeing on TV, but to us that was awesome. And I know I'm glazing over a lot really fast because I don't want to sit here and just I've given my history so much. Again, please listen to the other podcasts. Just let this one play. Eventually they'll come up and you can listen to things in detail. Currently I am I'm retired from in-ring action, but you never know. I mean, I say that because everybody gets the itch, but am I going to scratch it? You never know. I mean, I guess health-wise, I would want to be in a better place health-wise if I did that. But at the rate things are going, you never know. I know, that's like, I've said nothing. That was a whole lot of nothing I just said. You know what? Hold on. Before I even get into all that, do me a favor. Mark out for these words.
Hey, Facebook freaks. You following the hottest commodity in Western New York today? The longest running stable in Western New York today? The Stable of Champions? Well, you should be. Facebook.com/UWC4Life. That's Facebook.com/UWC4Life. Go ahead, give us a follow. Like our page. It's for the greater good.
It took the jury 75 minutes to find...
So, well, that was a blast from the past. What I was about to start talking about, and then I'm looking at the time because, again, I didn't want to be on here all day. My son, actually, I trained, and he's still continuing his training with Ground Zero. His name is Tiger Kid. He had been at his first show at 7 days old and has always had a thing for wrestling. It wasn't always so apparent because, he had other things going on and whatnot, but when he told me that he wanted to wrestle, like for real, it made me feel good, and it definitely had hit the heartstrings, because I wanted to see him succeed. And him being as young as he is, with the understanding of wrestling like he has, I think he will definitely go far, and I think he will do something. He will do something to make people stop and watch. I'm happy for him. Can't say enough good things about Ground Zero. They've helped him out, getting him some of his first bookings in front of people. He's also worked at some other spots like UW. There's another spot out in West Virginia. I apologize, I do not remember the name off the top of my head. He's worked out there quite a bit now. I've seen him down at Excite doing stuff down there as well. So my son is doing well, and I'm very happy for him. I'm very happy that he is going as far as he is. There's so many other newer trainees that I had a hand in, and now they've gone on, and it feels good. It feels good to see them succeed. It feels good to see them go forward. There's Damian Saint. Now, that kid has so much natural talent. Just natural talent. And I hope, and ironically, Damian Saint is the son of Canadian Thriller, so you're talking about full circle. Canadian Thriller was there for me when I first started, when I was thinking about wrestling. And now I had a hand in helping his son realize his dream. which is kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal. And I appreciate the fact that I was able to do that. There's a few more out there. And I'm happy. I'm happy for all the ones that I did help and whatnot. So, what's coming up? Starting next week, there will be an interview with a different talent, as I said before. Let me see. I'm going to pull this out. We have a text line here at the UWC network where you can text. Hold on. Of course, technology. Let me see what the text number is, because we changed it recently. So the text number is 315-791-2280. That's 315-791-2280. If you have any question that you would like me to ask any of my guests, you can text it to us. If you've got criticism of the show, go ahead, text it to us. I'm not afraid. I don't mind hearing the criticism, and I don't mind reading it, and I'll read it out loud right on air. So do me a favor and check that out. I think that's about it, honestly. You can support us for the podcast. Every little bit helps. I am going to be relaunching a lot of the classic UWC shirts on there. Every purchase of a shirt, they're not extremely bad. They're like $18 plus shipping, which is cheaper than Hot Topic or wherever. Nothing against them. But I'm just saying, they're comparable, they're soft, they're nice, they're worth it. Every little bit helps the podcast and any other things that we're going to be putting out there. I would be touching the YouTube stuff. If anybody who had been following me knows that I had an extensive YouTube library, well over 600 videos and everything on my original channel, which was taken from me over an entire situation that was just uncalled for, unnecessary, and never rectified. When that happened, it affected my home life, because my wedding video was listed on there, unlisted on there. And the reason why was because I was sharing it with family members that could not make it to my wedding, that were out of state, and friends. So when my channel was taken down, I lost that. I didn't have a backup. I thought I did. And I've been in correspondence with YouTube trying to get my footage back, because I lost a lot. I lost a lot of footage. And the person who did that. Okay, I'm gonna stop there, because if I don't stop there, I'm gonna start fucking flipping out, and things are gonna come out of my mouth, and I'm gonna get angry again, and I don't want to do that. I'm trying to stay calm. Anyway, every Saturday, I do not know if I'm gonna have a solid time, depending on when the interviews hit, because the interviews will be they'll be recorded all different days of the week, so they're going to be pre-recorded interviews, so yeah, just keep an eye out on UWC for Life, the Instagram, the Facebook, and what else do we have? Whatever else social media we have so many. If you have Linktree, or if you're familiar with Linktree, linktree.com/UWC4Life, that has all of our links, everything. So the shop's on there, the website, everything's on there. So check that out. Thank you very much for listening. If you made it this far, if you didn't, take it deep.